He was born in South Africa. In 1892, J.R.R. Tolkien was born in Blow Up Mountain, Orange Free State, now part of the Republic of South Africa. He was fathered by English parents, and his initials stand for John Ronald Rule, but as a child, he was known simply as Ronald. His father was a banker while still in South Africa, but sadly died of a rheumatic fever, causing the family to move back to England. Number 2. Tolkien is the author of the second best-selling novel written in English. The novel referred here, of course, is The Lord of the Rings, but Tolkien is not only the author of the second place, but he also holds the honor of writing the third best-selling novel written in English, which is The Hobbit. His legacy is massive. Both have sold more than a combined 250 million copies. Number 3. J.R.R. Tolkien was a devout Roman Catholic. Tolkien was a devout Catholic his entire life and very much a traditionalist. When many churches began performing masses in English instead of Latin, Tolkien rebelled against it and continued to speak the Latin responses, making sure he was loud enough for those around him to hear. He also believed that receiving communion was the greatest joy you can attain on earth. Number 4. He spoke at least 20 languages. Tolkien was talented for languages. During his lifetime, he mastered Latin, Greek, Gothic, Finnish, and other dead languages as well like Old English, Medieval Welsh, and Lombardic. His interest for languages was likely formed at a very young age, as his native language was English, but his mother deeply exposed him to German, Latin, and French. Number 5. He invented several languages. For Tolkien, the importance of language cannot be overstated, as it is widely known that he was far more interested in languages than he was in writing fantastic epics. He was once quoted as saying, "The invention of languages is the foundation. The stories were made rather to provide a world for the languages than the reverse." In fact, Tolkien actually created 5. He created 2 Elvish languages, High and Low Elvish, a language for dwarves, and a separate language for the Ents. Number 6. J.R.R. Tolkien fought in the First World War. Tolkien was a veteran of the First World War. He served as the 2nd Lieutenant in the 11th Battalion of the British Expeditionary Force in France and was present in the Battle of the Somme. During war, he contracted a chronic fever from the lice and it forced him to return home. He said that by 1918, all but one of his close childhood friends had been killed. Number 7. He befriended C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia. C.S. Lewis, famously known as the author of the Chronicles of Narnia series, met J.R.R. Tolkien well before they both became legendary novelists. Their initial meeting occurred in 1931 at the English faculty at Oxford, and they very much enjoyed discussing about theology and literature on their free time. Their relationship cooled over with time after some religious disagreements. Nevertheless, both remained friends, but their relation had been weakened. Number 8. Tolkien was a professor at Oxford University. The famous writer earned a professorship at Oxford in 1925. It was a very high honor since very few of the faculty actually had a professorship at the time. As a linguist and expert on Old English and Old Norse literature, his stint as a professor lasted until 1959. It is said that despite teaching English, he thoroughly disliked the works of Shakespeare. Number 9. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize for Literature. In 1951, J.R.R. Tolkien was nominated by fellow author and friend C.S. Lewis. Other writers also in the nominated list included Robert Frost, Ian Forster, Graham Greene, and Lawrence Durrell. Despite having sold over 200,000 copies of The Lord of the Rings, the Nobel Prize Committee rejected the honor to Tolkien, stating that his work has not in any way measured up to storytelling of the highest quality. Number 10. The Lord of the Rings wasn't supposed to be a trilogy. The first draft of his epic 200-word novel was finished in 1949. While there are different known reasons as to why it was divided in 3 parts, it is said that the price of paper was extremely high in post-World War II England. And besides being cheaper to break it up into 3 parts, his publishers were worried that he would not be able to carry the success of the previous publication, The Hobbit. Needless to say, the series was a massive hit, whilst inciting a legacy of dragons, swords, and epic battles.
Tolkien was born January 3rd, 1892. He came from a long line of craftsmen and laborers and was the first one in his family to attend college and go on and enter academia. His mother schooled he and his siblings, and he was interested in language early on. He enjoyed fantasy, which undoubtedly led to his writing of it. Although he was English, he was actually born in South Africa. His parents were Arthur Rule and Mabel Tolkien. His mother schooled he and his siblings, and he was interested in language early on. He enjoyed fantasy, which undoubtedly led to his writing of it. There's a famous story of how, while Tolkien was in South Africa, he encountered a spider, a large baboon spider, which is a tarantula. Now, this is said to have influenced his later work in The Lord of the Rings, creating the creature Shelob. Tolkien himself says he doesn't recall much of the event, but others said that someone literally had to suck the spider venom out of his arm where he had been bitten. It's interesting to note that something that occurred so early on in his life could go on to impact his later literary work. He and his siblings, along with his mother, were visiting England when his father died back home in South Africa, and he decided just to stay there. Tragically, his mother died not that long after, of diabetes. See, back in those days, they couldn't just medicate you with insulin. Diabetes was often fatal. He was an unbelievably bright boy. He knew Greek and Latin by the age of 12. He attended King Edward's School in Birmingham, where he continued to excel academically. While living on his own, at the age of 16, he met a girl, Edith, who was 19. They became friends and quickly fell in love. However, his priest forbade the two from corresponding till he was 21. He had honored his mother by becoming an Orthodox Roman Catholic, just as she was. He would continue on in this devout faith for the rest of his life. He is said to have played a role in C.S. Lewis coming to the faith as well. He would wind up marrying the girl March 22nd, 1916, before he was sent to war. He was reluctant to join the war, but eventually did so. He fought on the Western Front for 4 months before developing trench fever in November of that year. He had to be sent home and still had remnants of the illness, but was able to serve at home and sought academic employment following the close of the war. He took up a post at the University of Leeds, where he began work on the New English Dictionary. This is where he officially constructed his Elvish language. It was while he had this post at Leeds that he had 2 more sons born to him, Michael Hilary Rule and Christopher Rule. In 1925, Tolkien took up a post at Oxford University. He did not have an immense amount of published work at this point in time, yet was still respected, contrasting with today where you need publications to be accepted. He had a closely associated group of writer friends known as the Inklings, including notable members such as Neville Coghill and C.S. Lewis,